Thanksgiving is upon us, which means it's time for Thanksgiving football. So gobble gobble, go eat some turkey and watch planes, trains, and automobiles because that's the only Thanksgiving movie I can think of. So I hope that everyone's having a fantastic holidays. Let's get into some football now. Today we're going to do our picks for Week 13, including Thanksgiving, but all the rest of the week too. So by the way, this is also We Are the Game. I'm Luke and that's Michael. So here we go. We've done all the intro stuff. All right, moving on. We've got the NFL Pick'em site here, and starting off with the fun one, we have the Green Bay Packers going to the Lions. I feel like the Lions are favored here by more than they ought to be based on the way they've been playing lately. I mean, neither team's exactly stunning right now. They're just blowing the socks off other teams, but this feels a little unwarranted. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are reasons why people could go with the Lions. Their point differential is higher. It's 85 to 63, but both of those are really outstanding point differentials between the two. The Lions, I mean, both teams just got done playing the Eagles, and neither one of them had a great time there. But I just feel like the Packers have been looking really good. And I feel like the other thing we've seen is the Micah Parsons become a bit more of a real challenge to keep a hold of. So it's hard for me to pick the Lions right now over them. Yes, they won against the Giants, but even there, it's like they needed help to get there. They needed Jameis Winston to Jameis Winston something. So I'm taking the Packers in this one. I think it's a close game. I think this should be I kind of feel like this is a one mistake game. This could be a one turnover kind of game. Between the two, but I just feel like the momentum right now is more on the Packers side, and this division is brutal to each other. And both of these teams, I think, are desperate to get this win because the Bears don't seem to be taking any breaks, although they may run into that this week as they go face the Eagles, but we'll see. So I'll take the Packers. Do you disagree? You going the other way?
No, I think I'd prefer the Lions win this one just because I like the Lions a little bit. But no, I think it'll be a close game, but I think I'd pick the Packers. I will say the Packers offense has been really struggling lately. I think Jordan Love had like 130 yards, but Detroit does not have Minnesota's defense. So we'll see. Yeah, this could be a close one, but yeah, Packers. I think they're primed to take control of that division potentially starting this week if they can win this one and then the Bears lose. They've got a tough game coming up, which we'll get to here in a bit. So, all right. Next, we've got your game. We've got the Chiefs going to play the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like we're starting to get a little bit of Dallas Cowboys credit here because, yeah, this says 70-30, but as we've done these every week, I know that even 70-30 is about as close a margin as we're going to find. And the Cowboys have played well since the bye. That is the narrative that fits. It makes sense. The Chiefs have been kind of one good game, one not so good game. They played their good game against the Colts. I'm not so sure they've got another one this week. What do you got here?
Well, okay, so when I called the Cowboys against the Eagles, I admitted up front this is a hometown pick because I just couldn't pick the Eagles, right? I'm still a little bit in that boat, right? But I'm going to stick with the Cowboys here, and let me make a quick case for why, right? The first week when we played our newer additions on defense against the Raiders, I'm not saying it felt like a fluke, but it was hard to like, hey, this looked good, it felt good, but it's the Raiders, and I don't know what to really take away from that. Now we just played the Eagles, and the defense, yes, gave up 21 points in the first quarter, and then shut the Eagles out in pretty much every meaningful way for the rest of the game. That's very encouraging going into this game. The other thing to point out is that for whatever reason, CeeDee Lamb seems to have a little bit of a hiccup so far this season anyway when playing the Eagles and drops every ball that comes to him. I don't anticipate him to do that 2 games in a row. And if he had been catching balls in that last game, I think we might have scored more points by a ways. We also missed a touchdown where we were on the 2-yard line and didn't get in the end zone. There's a lot of ways where we could have scored more points against the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are significantly better than the Chiefs right now. So that's my case against the Chiefs. Now, with that being said, the Chiefs defense just ate up one of the most impressive teams in the Colts this last week. That was impressive. I don't know any other word for it. They just ate them alive. Pat Mahomes was throwing the ball wherever he wanted to. It's going to be an interesting game. If this is not a good football game for everyone watching, whether you're a Cowboys or a Chiefs fan, I will be disappointed. I expect this to be a kind of gritty game, a really fun one. But I'm going to take Dallas to come away with the win here. I expect us to put up 30 points, and I expect the Chiefs to struggle to keep pace.
Yeah, that could be really fun. This will be one of the best games, maybe the best game. I don't know. The Packers Detroit game will be really good on Thanksgiving too, but this one will be probably the one that eyes of America are on, and they're hoping to, let the turkey settle while they watch this one. One thing, So Indianapolis has like the worst pass rush in the NFL as far as like pass rush win rate is concerned, and you all do not. Again, particularly since the trade deadline, and you added Quinnen Williams. You have very much so not had the worst pass rush. So if you can get after Mahomes, I think that will give you a solid chance here. That could be the big thing that turns the table. And other than that, the Colts, they are very dependent on their run game with Jonathan Taylor being the MVP, basically. Your run game is complementary. And so if it works, great. But if not, you have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. So I think that you're diverse enough that you could really give them some different kinds of problems than the Colts give people. Because I'm not super scared of Daniel Jones. I'm happy for him in his little resurgence here, but I'm not really scared of him. So we'll see what the Cowboys can do. But I won't be surprised at all if you guys pull this one off. All right. And then lastly, for Thanksgiving, we've got the Bengals at the Ravens. The Bengals are talking about having Joe Burrow maybe playing. I'm not entirely sure, but word on the street is he's trying to. He does not care that they're 3-8. He's just like, nope, I want to play football. And I love that. I'm excited for him. I hope he play because he's just football's more fun with Joe Burrow in it. The Ravens are surging, as we've talked about many times this year. They've surged since going 1-5. They haven't lost since. They struggled a little bit against a plucky Jets team, but they were able to come out on top with a pretty secure score. But it just, if you watch that game, it did not feel like they were just running away with it. This feels like a game where they may run away with it. So they have played the Bengals well. They'll also get their opportunity in the next 3 or 4 games, I think, to play the Bengals twice and the Steelers once to really just take over that division. Who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, I mean, I do think this is the Ravens game. It's at home. It should be their game to win. The Bengals, I think if Burrow's plays, I think it might make the game a lot more fun to watch. The Bengals have a lot of problems, though. It's not a one-dimensional problem where, hey, Joe comes in and magically they don't have any more issues. I think that this would be a real uphill battle for them regardless. With that being said, the Bengals played that game against the Patriots, made it into a football game. That's what I'm hoping for here, is just that this ends up being a football game. Again, like you were pointing out, the Ravens against the Jets just kind of ended up being like Lamar taking the day off. And so, which is probably not the worst thing for Lamar. So yeah, I'll take the Ravens here. I think I'm just hoping for a good game to finish out the day, or we may all be asleep from turkey after that. Who knows? We'll see. Either way.
Yes, the tryptophan will hit hard. So then moving into, we got a Black Friday game. We get the Bears going to play the Eagles. This should be one of the best games of the week, to be completely honest. 2-8-3 teams, both in control of their division currently. The Bears, heavy underdogs here. The Eagles are given 7 points per ESPN. They're really expecting them to walk away with this one. Do the Eagles right the ship here, or can the Bears actually step up and beat a really good team?
Okay. So the thing with the Bears division is, whose division is that? Like, who is really the king of that division? The other 2 teams just went and played the Eagles, Lions and Packers. All of that was the Eagles put up like a combined 26 points against both teams. The Eagles offense is just problematic, and the Bears have played very determined football on both sides of the ball. I think the Bears have a real chance of stealing this one. And if they do, I do think it's going to send the Eagles into a bit of a concerned spiral. I think there's already a lot of question marks in their locker room and what's going on there. I feel like the Eagles are going to have more pressure. They're going to feel the pressure more in this game. Man, I'm really tempted to take the Bears in this one just because they seem to get more confident week to week. Um, this should be the Eagles' game to win. It's just they have not been convincing. They're not convincing running the ball. They're not convincing passing the ball. I'm going to pick the Bears. And I'll admit up front, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm not tempted to take the Eagles for no reason. But both of these teams coming in here, the Bears look like they want it more than the Eagles right now, although I expect them to play with more determination this week.
Yeah,
are you that bold, or would you be like, no, I think the Eagles are walking this one?
I think if I were doing the picks here, I'd pick the Eagles as kind of a safe pick. I don't trust the Bears, but
yeah,
the Eagles, I will admit, the Eagles' offense in particular has been very lackluster. One thing they did well in that Dallas game was they got AJ Brown kind of back on track. But was that back on track, or was that one fluky game? I guess time will tell. If they have got him back in swing of things, and he's going to be 100 yards every game, then they're going to turn back into the team that we kind of expect them to be a bit more. But I need more than one game, so we'll see. This would be a very impressive win for the Bears, and this will start an enormous conversation for the Eagles, especially if somehow Dallas does win this game against the Chiefs we talked about.
Sure.
That will make the closing 6 or 7 games very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so let's move into Sunday. We get the Rams against the Panthers. Very lopsided projection here. Rams just killing everyone right now, just destroyed Tampa Bay. The Panthers coming off a pretty disappointing outing. Who do you have winning this one?
Well, it's the Rams defense. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now. I think everyone's been talking about it. The beauty of the Rams, and I do appreciate it, is that the Rams they really just don't hurt themselves. Like, if you're going to beat them, but you're going to have to do it on your own. They're not going to help you at all. And I think that's not a great matchup for the Panthers. The Panthers are a lot of young players still figuring things out. They still make some mistakes. Now they can make some crazy plays as well. And I think they've done well riding that momentum throughout the season. But yeah, I think the Rams are going to look for them to make a couple of mistakes and eat their lunch. The Panthers beat Green Bay a few weeks ago, and that was a big win. I think it was a pretty well played game. Some challenges for the Packers, obviously, but that was a well played game by the Panthers. So it's not like the Panthers have nothing on their resume to say that this should be just a blowout win per se. I'm hoping for a good football game here, like something within one score. I think would be really fun to watch. But yeah, this should be the Rams. They just too consistent week to week.
Yep. Yeah, I would have to agree. Obviously, I'd love to see the downfall of the teams in my division, but I can't paint that picture here very well. The only thing I could say is something along the same lines that the Chiefs have going for them, the Panthers sometimes have going for them, which is this weird one game great, one game not particularly great. And they weren't particularly great last week, so maybe they can turn the corner this week. But that doesn't really feel like how this is going to go. So I would probably have to agree with you, sadly, and just take the hit. All right, next we've got one of the other NFC West teams here. The Niners going to take on the Cleveland Browns. The Browns had themselves a nice little win this last week. The big story there isn't really about them winning or losing. It's probably Shedeur Sanders is one of the stories, but I don't care about that one. I only care about Myles Garrett. Is Myles Garrett going to destroy the sack record, and by how much? Some people have thrown out the number 30, that he might get to 30 sacks this year.
Oh my
which is wild. This doesn't feel like the game where he's going to make enormous progress toward that incredible feat, but
yeah,
it is still the thing that's what I'm watching. So even bigger than the game itself, and obviously the Niners are trying to keep pace with the Rams and the Seahawks, but that is like where my eyes are. Who do you have winning this game, though?
Yeah, they did have a good game against the Raiders. I mean, but it's the Raiders. The 49ers, even as banged up as they are and the challenges they've had, they're still a significantly better team than the Raiders. Now, look, this is what an opportunity for Shedeur, who's really rolling the dice as hard as he can to try to prove, and rightfully so, that he is a starting quarterback and should be the starting quarterback, and they should be making a healthy investment of opportunity for him. going forward, and he needs a lot of things. He needs to prove a lot of things coming into this week against the 49ers. A great opportunity. He beats the 49ers and throws a couple touchdowns, all of that. I think he's bought a lot of grace with that team coming up. With that being said, that's going to be quite an uphill battle. In fact, I honestly think if Shedeur just has a good game and he throws a couple hundred yards and they're not all just Dylan Sampson's incredible speed running down the field for 60 or 70 yards, but he's making good passes. He's found some timing. He's effective in the red zone. He'll accomplish the same thing whether they win or lose. With that all being said, I love the coaching of the 49ers. They should win this game without any problems. I think that would cause some significant question marks if they lost that game. Will Myles Garrett break the record this week? I don't think so. Do I think he'll get closer? Yeah, I do. I think he'll get at least one closer this week. We'll see. Don't prove me wrong, Miles.
No, go ahead. Prove him wrong. Go ahead and get 6 more.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I don't know about 30 though. That's
maybe smart. Not to 30. Not to 30. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. This should be San Francisco's game. I feel like they have enough, and I agree with you on Shedeur that like he just needs to have. Don't do stupid things. Like take a few chances that are chances, but don't be stupid. Don't like, oh, it's triple coverage, but I got this. Like, don't do those kind of chances. But you want to drop a deep ball on a one-on-one where you think maybe he could go make a play. Awesome. Go do those kind of things. That's fine. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. They'll be one of the more intriguing storylines for the rest of the season. So, all right, next we got the AFC South matchup here. We got the Texans, who are kind of sneakily chasing the Colts. Texans just dominated the Bills. The scoreboard is close, but that defense just annihilated everything. Josh Allen's worst game as far as sacks allowed. So. We'll see what they're able to do this week. The Colts have one of the best offensive lines still in the NFL, but they were just kind of shut down. Their run game was this last week by the Kansas City Chiefs, so maybe they'll be able to slow them down. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I'd have happily said probably a week or two ago even that this was exactly how this game should play out, as 88-12 kind of a thing between the Colts and the Texans. But the Colts in their last 3 games have lost to 2 playoff teams or 2 playoff-ish teams, and the Steelers and the Chiefs. They beat the Falcons in that 3-game set. There's some question marks here as to like, hey, is there now like a recipe of success against them where maybe you can't pull it off all the time, but maybe you can pay it off some of the time? I think that's going to get put to the test really, really hard by the Texans, who all of a sudden look like they have an offense to go with a rather elite defense. They dropped 36 points on the Jaguars a few weeks ago. They beat the Titans, and they did not have a very convincing game against the Titans. I was really concerned for them going up against the Bills. But they came away with the win against the Bills. All of a sudden, they're beating playoff teams. So I think this is much closer than this. And of all the teams they want to beat, Indianapolis is like number 1 here. So this game means more to the Texans, I think, than it does to Indianapolis at this juncture in the season. I'm still going to go with Indianapolis here. I still think this is their game to lose at home, but I think this one's really close. And I think the Texans could pull this one out pretty easily. If so, it's going to add a lot of new questions in that very strange division.
Yeah, the optimism surrounding C.J. Stroud playing this week will be interesting. He's at least expected to practice today. So we'll see how that progresses moving through the week if he's cleared from that concussion. But that would change this percentage a bit. But I'm not sure. Would that even be enough to change your pick if CJ was able to play? No.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But we'll see. He is, obviously an exceptional young quarterback. So, all right. Next, we've got Saints Dolphins in an oddly lopsided looking game. I will say there's a sneaky path. I'm going to say this weirdness. There's a sneaky path to the playoffs for the Dolphins. It's ridiculous, but this is where life is now. Their upcoming games are the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Buccaneers, and then the Patriots. So they close out with a couple of tough games, but they get some very winnable ones between now and then. So if they can start stringing together some, let's call it competence, they might have a chance to turn this season around, at least make it respectable, save some jobs. The Saints, they're just trying to see what they got in Tyler Shuck, which I think is exactly where their team ought to be. Who do you have winning this game?
I mean, this is. I do think that this is the way it should be. I do think this is the Dolphins' game to lose is at home. But not only that, out of nowhere, the Dolphins show up and beat the Bills and the Commanders. And the Commanders are not obviously what they should be, given their well-storied injury list. But like, they were pretty good wins. Like, okay, they want to come out and play some football. I still cannot help the feeling that you get a different quarterback week to week with the Dolphins. And so it makes it very, very unpredictable as to what's going to happen. They are coming off bye. So, I mean, I think they should win this game. The Saints are really good at finding ways to lose. They're extremely good. So I think that that's a major factor for me is the Saints just don't. It's what are they good at? And the Saints are really just not quite good at much right now. So sorry, Saints fans. But yeah, I just don't think they're particularly good at anything right now. The Dolphins have a few areas where it's like, oh, they can hurt you here. So I'll stick with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. They at least have some strengths right now. So Devon Achane has gone under the radar a little bit, but he is having an exceptional season. So yeah, keep this going. That will be entertaining to see if they can string this together enough wins to try to sneak into the playoffs. Yeah, that closing game against the Patriots could be entertaining for the millionth time. So, all right, next we got the Falcons going to play the Jets. The Jets had a plucky loss, but they kind of hung in there with Baltimore, at least for a while. Tyrod Taylor still doing it after 15 years, man. He looks all right. And then the Falcons, they are what they are. Let's just call it what it is. They are what they are. Kirk Cousins came in and did kind of Kirk Cousins things. Their pass rush has still been surprisingly good. I feel like this will be another game where that really matters. If you can contain Tyrod Taylor, this will become very short. But other than that, I mean, this game lacks in the relevance department, but it should still have some entertaining moments. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I think you probably outlined already exactly what I think this game comes down to, which is just, Kirk Cousins versus Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. They're definitely different quarterbacks and all of that, but my pick in that is going to be Kirk Cousins. I do think the Falcons are a little bit more put together team. The Jets less so. Organizationally, I don't even think the Jets really should want to win this game. Team wise, I'm sure they do, but I think organizationally, it's like it's probably better if they don't. So I think the Falcons probably win this one. I don't know that I would expect necessarily that it's a runaway game, but I think it could be at the same time. So, I'll stay with the Falcons.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. There are still some intriguing stories within this, but I mostly just am happy that the Falcons figured out how to get their pass rush moving so quickly after being abysmal last year. So we'll see if that continues. Next, we've got my Cardinals going to swing in futility, most likely, at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've talked about in the Cardinals video that may or may not be out at the same time as this one is that Cardinals are still looking at some injuries. Looks like Walter Nolan's going to miss at least a little while. Marvin Harrison's probably still out. And on the other side of it, it looks like Tampa Bay is going to – there's some optimism for Baker Mayfield. And I kind of personally just expect him to play. He's been tough. He's played with that arm in a sling multiple games back when he was with Cleveland. He's just that guy. He's fighting for the playoffs. He wants to play. So I expect him to play. Who do you think is going to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the Baker Mayfield question is a real factor to this game for sure. I think in our minds, it's like the distance between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Cardinals feels like it's a gigantic gap. Like, oh man, where these two teams are. But the truth is, like, they're both in challenging divisions with other competitors. Although I would say the West is probably harder competition, but they have very similar point differentials. Like Tampa Bay scored about 10 more points than Arizona, and they've given up 10 about the same number of points on the year. So if Arizona can score a few extra points, I think this could potentially be a game. With that all being said, the Bucs are playing at home. Even if it is Teddy Bridgewater playing, I think it should be their game to lose. But I mean, statistically speaking, and considering the Cardinals, it should be a one-score game because that's basically their entire season. So I think this will be a fun football game. Fun is relative, but I think it'll be a close football game. Let's put it that way. But I'll stick with the Bucs on this one.
Yeah, that makes sense. I picked them too. It was just I don't trust us right now. So, or more to the point, I kind of trust us to come up just short. I think in our video, I projected we'd win by, or excuse me, lose by a couple of scores. I could see it being a one-score thing. Maybe it's one of those where it's 30-17 with 3 minutes left and we score a touchdown, but don't get the onside kick or something like that. You know, that kind of story. But we'll see. This would be a good game for us to somehow sneak in and win, but it just doesn't seem like a good matchup for me. So yeah, we'll see. Next, we've got Jaguars and the Titans, little AFC South matchup here. Jaguars are looking to challenge the Colts and are playing pretty well. They obviously just beat the juggernaut Arizona Cardinals last week. But what's impressive from one perspective is that they were able to turn the ball over 4 times to none and still win that game. So as much as they can make mistakes, they seem to know how to clutch it out and just kind of stick with it. The Titans did another one of those respectable losses last week. They seem to do that fairly often where it seems like they got close kind of at the end, but once again, just kind of came up short. So we'll see. Being a division matchup, this one could be close, I guess. And obviously, if the Jaguars are going to turn the ball over 4 times again, this could be real close. Who do you have winning this one?
I mean, yeah, the only thing I could possibly say to make it seem like this shouldn't really be closer to 99-1 is that it's a divisional matchup, right? The Titans have so many question marks at pretty much everywhere. I don't. It's hard to know where to start on that side. Like they would need a lot of things to go right. They would really need the Jaguars to take the day off, and I don't think the Jaguars are going to do that. I really expect this one to be kind of a lopsided win. I do think, however, that there's a real possibility for this to be one of those where the Jaguars get up and then take their foot off the gas and maybe leave a door open there. Could happen. But I just don't think the offense and Cam have really figured out enough to be dangerous. And I have zero confidence in their ability to complete a come from behind win anyway. Although it would be huge for their confidence if they pulled it off. So I'll stick with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. This feels like a game where, excuse me, that Jags pass rush is going to really limit what the Titans are able to do. And I will add in, just for the sake of, I'm sure Seahawks fans, if they see this, will get all ticked off, is the Titans made it look closer than it really was right at the end with like 40 seconds left. They made it a 1-score game. So fair enough. It was a 2-score game at least, but it's also the Titans. Come on now. So any jab I can get on the Seahawks is a good day. Speaking of which,
understandable.
Next, we've got the Vikings going to play the aforementioned Seahawks. Vikings defense played really well last week, but it just wasn't enough. Everyone's pretty sick of 9, if you know the reference, being J.J. McCarthy's alter ego. And the Seahawks coming off another solid win, they are just waiting for their next chance to take over the NFC West. I think they're hungry to go after the Rams in the next matchup in the hopes of taking back this division. They're still sprinting towards a playoff run, and they have an incredible team. So this one, I feel like it has the makings of something that could be fun with just how well the Vikings defense has played this year. But do they actually have a shot this week? What do you think?
No, not at all. I hadn't really paid as much attention to the Vikings because I didn't hear it after the game. But with McCarthy and his alter ego both have a concussion and may not play, which means we'll be looking at potentially Max Brosmer playing. And the Seahawks are going to tee off, I would imagine, on that for the first half. And they're going to take the second half off. So no, I feel bad for the Vikings. Like they've got so many great pieces on that team, and it's not working out for a lot of different reasons there. I hope for a good game from the defense. I hope for a good game from the offense. But I mean, this is a very, very uphill battle. So no, I'll take the Seahawks.
Yeah. Sadly, I'd have to do the same. The Vikings just aren't putting it together the same as last year. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. They'll be one of the more entertaining teams. But yeah, okay. Similarly lopsided, we've got our next matchup. We've got the Raiders and the Chargers in an AFC West matchup. Chargers extremely heavily favored here. Do the Raiders have any shot, or similar to my last time I asked this question just a second ago, is this going to be Chargers all the way?
Well, I mean, the Chargers have shown that they're a good football team for sure, and they do have these moments of like, wait, what happened? Why are we not playing good football? But then there's the Raiders, who I'm not sure the Raiders have played good football yet this year. So I think this is pretty solid the way that this is set up. If the Chargers lose this game to the Raiders, I would assume that Max Crosby caused a number of fumbles and somehow threw a touchdown for that to happen. So no, I'll stick with the Chargers on this one. The Raiders they just have a lot of things they got to work out in the offseason to make this a functional team.
Yeah. We're just hoping Geno Smith is okay after this one. The 10 sacks from last week. We'll see. Hopefully they don't do that again this week. But man, that is a rough O-line to stand behind. So, all right, let's move to the next one. We've got the Bills going to play the Steelers. Both teams, oddly enough, kind of feel like they're fighting for their playoff lives at this point. The Steelers have currently lost their playoff spot to the Ravens. Of course, playoffs haven't started yet, but they are looking to right the ship. Will Aaron Rodgers come back? All reports suggest that he wants to come back, but the doctors are kind of telling him no. And then the Bills on the other side, I think the likelihood of him getting sacked 8 times again in back-to-back weeks is pretty slim. They also did just add Brandon Cooks, I read, though I doubt that he plays a big role in this game. Who do you have winning this one?
Well, I do think the Aaron Rodgers question is a big question for this game. I think we saw what Mason Rudolph is capable of doing with this team. And against, if they were playing the Jets or the Titans or the Raiders, somebody like that, I think Mason Rudolph has that no problem. I think he helms that ship. But the Bills, you've got to show up and you've got to score points. I think if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play this game, I don't think they win this game. And so at this point in time, even though I think the latest thing I read was that they had great expectations or whatever that Aaron Rodgers would play or something like that, they were kind of expecting it. I think I have to take the Bills until that question mark is answered. If Aaron Rodgers was playing this game, something is wrong with the Bills right now. Like it's just not – something's maybe just not right. Maybe it's not wrong, but it's just not right. And the Steelers, DK Metcalf seems to have kind of like hit in stride, I feel like, right about now. He's making some bigger plays. He's starting to look like what we would have expected him to look like all season. They're getting some run production, but the Bills, it's that combination of Josh and James Cook are really brutal on offense. So I'm hoping this is a good game regardless of who starts for the Steelers, but I think just because of the question mark, I'll take the Bills here and assume that this is – I don't even know that I'd put it 75-25 probably, but yeah, I'll take the Bills.
Yeah, okay. I think if I was picking, if Aaron Rodgers played, I think I'd actually pick the Steelers. I don't know why. It just feels like that kind of game where this could be one of the upsets of the week for the potentially spiraling Bills, but we'll see. Josh Allen does not like to lose, so we'll see what happens there. So for a weird Sunday night game that probably looked like it'd be a great game at the beginning of the season, we get the Broncos going to play the Commanders. Broncos, I believe they're coming off their bye. And the Commanders wish that they could get 2 or 3 more byes. Just reeling from all the injuries that they have, they just seem kind of listless, just waiting for the season to end. Kind of like my Cardinals, oddly enough. Do the Commanders have a chance at winning this game?
I mean, I don't think so. The Broncos haven't necessarily shown to be a regular high-powered offense. Like they have their moments where they can come out and drop some points on people, but they're not really shown like, hey, we're going to regularly score 30-plus points, but they're going to score some points. And they don't make tons of mistakes. And the Commanders, it's like every time we start talking about, well, hey, this is starting to look pretty good for them, it feels like just a second later it goes wrong. Like there was a moment where Deebo Samuel started to look like Anquan Bolden. And he's like running over people. He kind of had that, and it was like, okay, great, they've got this worked out. And then it just disappeared. And we talked a lot about Krosky Merritt, and like, whoa, he looks really good. And then that kind of disappeared. I assume that Mariota's still playing. I don't think I've seen anything that said Jaden's in. So I don't see them beating the Broncos. They're just They're just well coached. They're playing really good football right now. So I'm sticking with the Broncos on that.
Yeah, I tend to talk a lot about pass rush win rate, and there's a site from it's ESPN measures pass rush win rate, pass block win rate, and then both the run aspects of this as well. And Denver Broncos are actually top 10 in all 4 categories. They are just well-rounded. It's amazing they ever lose any games with that much success in the trenches. So they are primed to continue their move toward the playoffs. This just doesn't seem like the right stone for them to trip over. So, yeah, this should be Denver continuing their impressive year. So closing out the week, we've got the Giants going to play the Patriots. The Giants are fun with Jameis Winston. The Patriots are still playing incredibly well. I think they might have the best record in the NFL, or tied for it, or something like that. Yep. They've had a couple of games against good teams. I know that was the big question: is can you beat a good team? And then they did. So right now they look like one of the best teams in the country. Of course, they have this long-standing history of weirdness with the with the Giants. But the Giants aren't what they once were. So does Jameis Winston turn this one into a weird win, or is this just more Patriots dominance?
Well, I mean, I think the shortest answer to that is the Patriots. This is the Patriots' game to lose by a wide margin. The Giants are a strange team. They're a 2-win team. But even in their division, like the Giants have scored more points this season than the Eagles. In the same division, they've scored more points than the Eagles. Their defense is not good, and their defense has really been put upon this season. But there's a reason this team is in almost every game they play. They really don't get run over much. They're not a team you should be overlooking. I think of all the 2-win teams that remain, which there's not tons, they're easily the most dangerous. They're probably the most dangerous of the 3-win teams. They always seem to be making a fourth quarter drive that could be the win and just fall short. It's just, is it a matter of time until they upset somebody who really needs that win? New England's in a good spot in their division, so I think that they don't really necessarily need this win, but they shouldn't be overlooking the New York Giants of all of the not good teams. So no, I think the Patriots should win this game. Even if they make some mistakes, they should win this game. So hopefully they play a clean one and continue their very Cinderella-ish season through the NFL. So no, I'm all for it.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, I don't say sadly. I'm actually kind of rooting for the Patriots a little bit. I like Drake May, but I just like a good upset. So this would be an interesting one to close out the week. And Jameis is an entertaining guy, as I said. So we will see. Hopefully, it'll be a good game. I know next the following week we get a lot more interesting matchups. I feel like of getting 2 contenders playing against each other. It didn't feel like we had a whole lot this week, but next week we'll return more towards more competitive matchups. So we'll see. So thanks everyone for joining us. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers, and we appreciate if anyone's willing to give us a like and a subscribe. Tell us which picks you like in the comments, or which picks you don't like, or why your team's going to win, or why they're not, if you're a Cardinals fan like me. Just let us know down there. I hope that you have a fantastic day and an even better Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving.